Imagine walking into a room where the walls are covered with intricate paintings of a massive, ancient clock. This clock, built by a man named Su Sung, stands tall and proud, its gears and wheels intricately designed. But this isn't just any clock. It was a marvel of engineering, a testament to the ingenuity of the ancient Chinese. However, this clock was not for the common people. It was a secret, hidden away in the imperial court, accessible only to the emperor and his attendants. This is where our story begins, a story about time, power, and the incredible ways different cultures have measured and understood the world. In the 9th century, the emperor of China had a vast harem of wives and concubines, each with a specific rank. There were 121 of them, a number chosen to match the 365 days of the year. The highest-ranking woman was the empress, followed by 3 consorts, 9 spouses, 27 concubines, and 81 assistant concubines. Their duties were not just to serve the emperor, but also to ensure the continuity of the imperial lineage. The rotation of these women was carefully planned, based on ancient traditions and beliefs about the balance of male and female energies. The lower-ranking women came first, and the higher-ranking women came last. The 81 assistant concubines would share the imperial couch in groups of 9 for 9 nights. The 27 concubines were allotted 3 nights in groups of 9. The 9 spouses and the 3 consorts each had 1 night, and the empress had 1 night as well. This rotation was believed to align with the phases of the moon, ensuring that the emperor's children would be conceived under the most auspicious conditions. The secretarial ladies, who kept meticulous records of these encounters, used special brushes dipped in imperial vermilion to document everything. The emperor's clock, built by Su Sung, was crucial to these rituals. It was a water-driven mechanism that accurately tracked the movements of the heavens. This clock was not just a timepiece, it was a tool for astrology, a way to ensure that the emperor's heirs were conceived at the right moments. The clock's data was used to make astrological predictions, which were essential for the political stability of the empire. But this clock was a luxury, a symbol of the emperor's power and the isolation of the imperial court. It had no practical use for the common people, who lived far from the palace and had their own, simpler ways of measuring time. In contrast, the spread of clocks in the West was driven by community needs. The invention of the spring-driven clock in the 15th century was a game-changer. Unlike the heavy, water-driven clocks that were rooted in one place, these new clocks were portable and versatile. They could be taken anywhere, making them useful for a wide range of activities. For sailors, a portable clock was a necessity. It helped them navigate the seas, chart new territories, and return home safely. The pocket watch, and later the wristwatch, put a timepiece in the hands of millions of people, transforming how they lived and worked. While the Chinese clock remained a symbol of imperial power, the Japanese took a different approach. They were more open to foreign ideas and technologies. By the end of the 17th century, the Japanese were making their own copies of European clocks. They even developed a unique clock industry, creating clocks that could accurately mark the unequal hours of the day and night. The Japanese pillar clock was designed to hang from the timbers of a room, as the paper walls of their houses were too fragile to support a heavy wall clock. They also created the Inro watch, a small, elegant timepiece that could be worn around the neck or tucked into the obi, the traditional Japanese belt. The Japanese clock industry thrived, and by the 19th century, clocks were becoming more accessible to the general public. This spread of clocks in Japan was a result of the country's flourishing urban centers and enterprising merchants. The need for timekeeping was driven by the demands of commerce and travel, much like in the West. The Japanese, with their network of well-traveled roads and numerous ports, were well positioned to benefit from the invention of portable clocks. While the West and Japan were embracing clocks and timepieces, the East, particularly China, remained more traditional. The Chinese clock, with its water-driven mechanism, was a marvel of engineering, but it was rooted in the imperial court and had little impact on the lives of ordinary people. The Chinese, known for their isolationist policies, were wary of foreign influences and technologies. This caution meant that innovations like the spring-driven clock were slow to take hold in China. The role of mountains in different cultures provides another interesting contrast. Mountains have always held a mystical and spiritual significance. In India, the Himalayas were seen as the dwelling place of the gods. The mythical Mount Meru, a mountain 84,000 miles high, was believed to be the center of the universe. The peaks of the Himalayas, some of the highest in the world, inspired awe and reverence. They were seen as the source of life-giving rivers and the abode of spiritual beings. In Japan, Mount Fuji was a goddess who dominated the landscape. Artists like Hokusai celebrated the beauty and power of Fuji in their works, creating iconic images that continue to inspire people today. The mountain was a symbol of national pride and a source of spiritual inspiration. In the West, the Greeks had their Mount Olympus, a place where the gods lived and held council. The mountain, shrouded in clouds, was a symbol of the divine, a place where mortals could catch a glimpse of the immortal. The tradition of mountain worship was not limited to these cultures. In many parts of the world, people built artificial mountains to reach closer to the heavens. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the pyramids of Egypt, and the stupas of India and Southeast Asia were all attempts to create a link between the earth and the sky. The ziggurats, or stepped pyramids, of Mesopotamia were some of the oldest surviving examples of artificial mountains. They were believed to be the earthly shape of the ladder that the patriarch Jacob saw in his dream. The ziggurat in Babylon, known as the Tower of Babel, was a symbol of human ambition and the desire to reach the heavens. According to tradition, it was built by giants who wanted to climb to heaven, but their efforts were thwarted by divine intervention. In Egypt, the pyramids were also seen as a link between the earth and the sky. The earliest pyramids, like the stepped pyramid of Zoser at Saqqara, were designed to serve as a staircase to heaven, allowing the pharaoh to ascend to the afterlife. The later pyramids, with their smooth slopes, were symbols of the sun god, a source of eternal light and life. In Tibet, the lamas offered the Buddhas their own model of the earth, a small mound of rice that represented Mount Meru. The Buddhist stupa, a symbol of the universe, was a common feature in many parts of Asia. The stupa at Borobudur in Java is one of the most impressive examples, with its intricate design and numerous smaller stupas. The stupa was not just a religious symbol, it was a place of worship, a way for believers to connect with the divine. The contrast between the Chinese clock and the clocks of the West and Japan is a reflection of the different cultural values and needs of these societies. The Chinese clock, with its water-driven mechanism, was a symbol of imperial power and the isolation of the imperial court. It was a tool for astrological predictions and political stability, but it had little impact on the lives of ordinary people. In contrast, the clocks of the West and Japan were driven by community needs, such as commerce, navigation, and travel. They were portable, versatile, and accessible to a wide range of people, transforming how they lived and worked. The role of mountains in different cultures also highlights the importance of spiritual and mystical beliefs. Whether it was the Himalayas in India, Mount Fuji in Japan, or Mount Olympus in Greece, mountains were seen as places of divine presence and spiritual inspiration. The artificial mountains, like the ziggurats and pyramids, were attempts to create a physical link between the earth and the sky, a way for people to connect with the divine. In conclusion, the story of the ancient Chinese clock and the contrasting developments in the West and Japan is a fascinating look at how different cultures have measured and understood time. The Chinese clock, with its water-driven mechanism, was a symbol of imperial power and the isolation of the imperial court. The clocks of the West and Japan, driven by community needs, were portable and accessible, transforming how people lived and worked. The role of mountains in different cultures, whether as natural wonders or artificial creations, highlights the importance of spiritual and mystical beliefs. These stories remind us that the way we measure and understand time is deeply rooted in our cultural values and needs.